It's all fake, her father said she believed, until the millionaire whispered, not with her. Hello everyone, before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It is quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now let us return to our main character. The golden white lights of the Hail Dominion Gala shimmered across the glass walls of the 48th floor, turning everything into a scene too elegant for someone like Aria Stone to belong to. She carried a tray of empty crystal glasses toward the service hall when she mistakenly pushed open the wrong door, one marked private. Instead of towels and storage carts, she saw two men standing at the balcony's shadowed corner, and a third facing them, half his face hidden by the darkness. His voice was quiet, razor sharp. Delete the file. Tonight, if it leaks, the stock crashes 40% before sunrise. The vice president of Hail Dominion, a man Aria had only ever seen on magazine covers, held a USB with shaking fingers. It isn't erased yet. The masked man turned his head, and in the gold-tinted reflection on the window, Aria saw his eyes lock onto hers, cold, unhurried, assessing. How much did she hear? Aria stumbled backward. The tray slipped, glass shattered. All three men stepped toward her. Aria ran heart-pounding breath, broken, bursting straight into the center of the gala. Music cut off. A woman gasped dramatically. She scratched my diamond watch. This girl is a thief. Phones lifted, live streams launched. Laughter, whispers. Her father rushed in, grabbed her wrist too hard. Conte Chua, this world is fake. Everything here is fake for someone like you. Before Aria could breathe, a voice sliced through the crowd. Low, controlled, dangerous. Not with her. The room froze as Leon Hale stepped forward. Leon's presence was almost silent but impossible to ignore. He scanned Aria, then the shattered glass, then the accusing woman. He glanced at the CCTV feed on his phone, tapped once, and slid the screen toward the nearest security guard. Play that. Loud. 2 seconds later, the audio of the woman saying, "Push her, say she broke it, hurry," echoed across the gala. Murmurs erupted. Faces dropped. Leon lifted his eyes. She did nothing wrong. The woman stammered, stepping back. Her entourage pretended not to know her. Aria swallowed, trembling, feeling the shame burn hotter than the chandelier light above her. Leon placed a steadying hand on her elbow. "Come with me." She shook her head instinctively. "I didn't steal anything. I'm not part of whatever that was. You don't have to explain," he said. "But you shouldn't be out here." He guided her through a staff corridor she'd never noticed, soundproof, dim, too luxurious to be for employees. They entered a small VIP conference room, the door closing with a soft latch. Aria stood near the long glass table, heart racing, knuckles white. Leon didn't sit. He walked to the screen on the far wall, typed a code, and pulled up the internal surveillance footage. A frame paused. A shadowed figure in a suit, someone she'd seen moments earlier, following her down the hallway right before she crashed into the gala. Aria's breath hitched. What does that mean? Leon finally looked at her. He'd really looked, not with pity, not with suspicion, but with a strange, cool calculation. "It means you were seen where no one was supposed to be," he said. "And the people you overheard don't like loose ends." Aria stepped back. "I swear I didn't try to eavesdrop. I was just looking for towels." "I know." How Leon's jaw tightened. "Because guilt looks different. You look terrified. Terrified people don't lie well." Aria wrapped her arms around herself. "So what happens now? Do I get fired? Is someone going to accuse me again? That woman was paid to distract the crowd from what happened upstairs." Aria stared at him. "So they wanted attention on me, yes. And why would they want that?" "Because if you cause a scene, security holds you. And while security holds you, someone else has time to erase what you saw." Her legs weakened. "I didn't see anything. I didn't understand anything." Leon approached one step closer, enough that she had to tilt her chin to meet his eyes. "That doesn't matter," he said quietly. "They think you did." Outside the window, Portland glittered like a calm ocean, too beautiful, too far from the truth inside this room. Aria whispered. "So what am I supposed to do now?" Leon's answer was immediate. You're going home with a security escort. Her eyes widened. Why? I didn't do anything. Exactly, he said. And that makes you unpredictable to them. Leon reached for the door, then stopped, his voice lower than before. From this moment on, Aria, you don't leave my sight unless I say it's safe. She froze. That sounds... He turned back. Extreme, yes, but necessary. Her pulse throbbed in her throat. Because I heard something. No. His gaze softened barely, like a shadow bending in the light. Because someone saw you hear it. He opened the door fully. Security waited outside. Let's go, Leon said, and Aria realized walking past him that her quiet, ordinary life had ended the second he said, not with her. Aria barely slept. Morning arrived as a dull gray blur behind the blinds of her tiny apartment, the kind of light that made everything feel colder than it was. She sat on the edge of her bed, still wearing last night's clothes, replaying the moments at the gala. Those men, the USB, the lies, the phones pointed at her, and then Leon's voice cutting through it all like a command carved from steel. A soft knock startled her. She opened the door just a few inches, then froze. Leon Hale was standing in the flickering hallway of her rundown building as if he belonged nowhere else. Dark coat hands in pockets, expression unreadable. Behind him, one of his security officers waited with a neutral stance. Aria's throat tightened. How do you know where I live? Leon stepped forward just enough that she felt the shift in the air. They knew first. Her stomach dropped. What? He held up a small, folded note between two fingers. This was taped to your door when we arrived. Aria took it and unfolded the paper. Only 5 words written in rushed pen strokes. Talk to me before he does. Aria's fingers trembled. Who left this? Someone who shouldn't know where you live, Leon said. Pack a bag. You're leaving for 48 hours. She stared. I have work. I have a life. I can't just... Aria. His voice sharpened, not cruel but unyielding. What happened last night wasn't a misunderstanding. People will come asking questions. Some will pretend to be my allies. Some will pretend to be your friends. You won't know the difference. Aria swallowed heat rising in her chest. Are you threatening me? Leon's jaw flexed. I'm warning you. The officer beside him cleared his throat softly, giving Aria a respectful distance. Leon nodded toward him. Mr. Hale, the car is ready. Aria took a single step back into the apartment, glancing around the cluttered space, her mismatched chairs, the cracked coffee mug, the faded curtains. Everything felt suddenly fragile, like a life too thin to protect itself. She whispered, Give me a minute, and closed the door. Inside, she packed with shaky hands, jeans, a sweater, her apron from the bakery, and the little silver necklace her mother had given her. She hesitated before adding the apron. Something about taking it made her feel like she might never return to this simple place. When she opened the door again, Leon took the bag from her without asking. You don't need to carry this, he said simply. But it's mine, she murmured. He paused, eyes flicking to hers for the briefest moment. Yes, he said quietly. It is. Outside, a sleek black SUV waited in absurd contrast against the cracked pavement and broken streetlights of her neighborhood. Aria climbed in, feeling the leather seat swallow her whole world. Leon sat across from her in the row of seats facing backward, his posture straight, even though his expression looked carved from something exhausted. Aria broke the silence. You didn't answer me last night. Leon looked up. Why are you doing all of this? I didn't understand any of what I saw. Her voice sounded too small even to her own ears. Leon tapped his phone, pulling up CCTV footage. A still frame, a dark figure following Aria down the hallway right before she burst into the gala. Aria leaned forward. That's the same man, the one near the balcony. Leon nodded. He followed you because you were the only variable they didn't predict. I didn't hear anything important. You heard enough to become a problem. Her chest tightened. What does that even mean? It means, Leon said, leaning slightly toward her, that the people you overheard believe information is only dangerous when it leaves a mouth. So their goal is to ensure yours stays closed. Aria turned pale. So they want to silence me. His gaze held hers steady and cold but protective. No, Not while you're with me. Aria's pulse hammered. The SUV turned off the main road and began climbing a hillside she didn't recognize. Where are we going? She asked. A safe place. That sounds like something people say in movies before things go terribly wrong. Leon almost smiled but didn't. I'm not kidnapping you, Aria. Could have fooled me, she muttered under her breath. He heard it. Look, he said, lowering his voice, you were caught in the middle of a corporate war. Not by choice, not by fault, just by being in the wrong place at the wrong time. He paused. And I'm asking you to trust me until this dies down. Aria folded her arms tightly across her chest. Why me? Why protect me? I barely know you. A shadow flickered across Leon's expression. Not fear, not guilt, but something deeper, older. You don't need to know me to understand this, he said. I don't let innocent people get destroyed on my watch. Is that what this is? Aria whispered. Protection. Leon met her gaze fully for the first time since the gala. No, he said softly. It's strategy. Aria blinked. What kind of strategy involves pretending to be my girlfriend? Leon finished calmly. Temporarily. Aria stared at him in stunned silence. Leon continued, his tone flat, professional, but the muscle in his jaw betrayed tension. If you stand at my side publicly, the people trying to control the narrative will think twice. If you're close to me, they can't risk touching you. If you are seen as part of my inner circle, they will assume I've already moved the evidence. Aria's heart pounded. So you want me to fake date you, Leon corrected gently. I want you to stay alive. The SUV slowed as it approached a turn in the forested road. Aria whispered, I don't think I can do this. Leon leaned forward slightly, voice steady as steel. If you choose not to, I won't force you. But know this, walking away means facing them alone. Aria closed her eyes. After a long moment, she opened them again and nodded. Fine, she said softly. 30 days. I'll stay close to you, but only because I want my life back. Leon's voice dropped lower. You will get it back. He reached into his coat and placed a folded document on her lap. Then sign this, a temporary agreement of protection. Aria looked at the papers, her name, his signature already in place. The terms simple but terrifying. Her hand shook as she picked up the pen. Aria, Leon said quietly, Don't be afraid. I keep my promises. She signed. The SUV continued its silent climb toward the unknown, and for the first time in her life, Aria wondered if stepping into danger beside Leon Hale might be safer than facing the world without him. The black car rolled to a stop in front of the Hale Dominion executive venue, where the evening's private dinner glowed like a constellation behind glass. Aria stepped out first, heels wobbling slightly on the marble. Leon followed his presence sharp enough to silence the murmurs that rippled across the entryway as people recognized him. She kept her gaze forward, but she could feel them, every stare, every raised eyebrow, every whisper slicing through her like cold wind. Leon brushed a hand lightly against her back. Walk with me, he murmured. Inside the dining hall was a world made of chandeliers, tailored suits, and curated laughter. Aria's dress, a simple black slip chosen by Leon's stylist, felt painfully out of place among the glittering gowns and couture jewelry. Conversations quieted as they approached the long dining table. A dozen eyes tracked her, assessing, judging, calculating. Aria forced herself not to shrink. Victoria Hale sat at the head of the table. Sleek hair, diamond earrings, an expression carved from ice. Her gaze swept over Aria like a scanner gathering data. So Victoria said, voice smooth, this must be Aria. Aria smiled politely, but her fingers twisted beneath the tablecloth. A businessman leaned forward. And what do you do, Aria? The tone was too innocent for the question not to be loaded. I worked in event catering, Aria said carefully. Until recently. A hush fell over the table. Not shock, but a sharp interest like wolves sniffing for a wound. A woman dripping in emeralds let out a soft laugh. Oh, from serving champagne to sitting beside a Hale, that's quite the transition. Aria's chest tightened. I didn't plan any of this. I'm just trying to. Victoria cut in. How exactly did you meet Leon? It was a trap disguised as curiosity. Aria froze. Her mind raced. She couldn't say the truth, but she wasn't good at lying either. She fell, Leon said smoothly, sliding into the conversation without looking up from his glass. And I caught her. The table fell silent for a moment, confused by the metaphor trying to decode it. The emerald woman smirked. How poetic, and how convenient. Aria's cheeks burned. She opened her mouth, but Leon set his hand on the back of her chair, not touching her, just anchoring her. That's enough, he said calmly. His voice wasn't loud, but it carried authority that pressed the air flat. The room shifted, no one spoke. No one dared to. Dinner was served, but Aria barely tasted anything. She was too aware of the glances, the half-smiles, the whispered comments behind napkins. Then something strange happened. A server she didn't recognize placed 2 glasses of wine on the table, one before Aria, one before Victoria. The glasses were subtly switched from the arrangement Aria noticed moments before. Victoria's hand moved like lightning. She swapped their glasses back without a word. Leon caught the motion. His eyes iced over. Aria frowned. What? Was that? Leon leaned closer, voice low enough only she could hear. Don't drink anything unless it comes from me. Her pulse spiked. Why? But he didn't answer. She wasn't sure which was worse, the fear of knowing or the fear of not knowing. As dessert arrived, a middle-aged man with a politician's smile approached Aria from behind. You must feel overwhelmed, he said warmly. Navigating this world without guidance? Aria tensed. I'm fine. Are you? 'Cause if you ever feel unsure which side of this family is safer, you can always reach out to me. He slipped a card near her hand. Aria didn't take it. Leon's shadow fell over the table. She doesn't need your advice, he said. The man's smile thinned. Careful, Leon. You can't protect everyone. Leon stepped between them. I only protect those who matter. The room froze again. Aria's heart clenched not at his words, but at the sincerity beneath them. Something unguarded and real leaking through the mask he wore. As the dinner ended, Aria exhaled, muscles aching from tension she hadn't realized she'd been holding. She followed Leon out into the hall, relieved for the quiet until she saw something that stopped her dead. A small, plain envelope sat beneath the side mirror of Leon's car. Her name was written on it. Leon plucked it up before she could touch it. His expression hardened as he unfolded the paper. Inside was a single printed photograph. Aria standing outside the VIP hallway last night, looking terrified. The caption beneath it read, Choose your side. Aria's breath caught. Leon folded the photo carefully and slid it into his jacket. From now on, he said, voice steady but darkened, You stay with me every minute. No exceptions. Aria looked up at him, fear and something unfamiliar twisting together in her chest. Is this ever going to stop? She whispered. Leon opened the car door for her. Yes, he said. When the people behind this realize you're not alone. His eyes lowered to hers, intense enough to make her heartbeat trip. And as long as you're with me, Aria, they will. The drive into the woods felt longer than it should have. Aria sat rigidly in the back seat, her overnight bag at her feet, staring at the blur of trees passing by. Leon had barely spoken since they left the city, but even in silence, he filled the space, sharp, restless, watching everything through the mirrored window. When the car finally stopped at a secluded clearing, Aria stepped out into crisp forest air. Before them stood a glass and wood lodge tucked between towering pines, modern yet strangely lonely. No staff, no guards, only cameras tucked into the eaves like metal eyes. Aria hugged her arms. This place feels abandoned, Leon answered without looking at her. It's secure. No one gets in without me. The front door unlocked with a coded beep. Inside the lodge was minimalist and elegant soft lighting, gray stone counters, wide windows opening into forest shadows. But the quiet felt too complete, like the building itself was holding its breath. Leon set her bag down. Sit wherever you like. Aria stayed standing. Why are we here, Leon, really? He didn't turn. Because this is the one place I know no one can follow us. His voice was tight, not angry but strained, like he'd been running from something for a long time and was finally cornered. Aria stepped closer. Follow us. Or follow me. Leon stopped moving. He didn't answer. A chime sounded an alert from the lodge's security panel. Leon crossed the room and glanced at the monitor. Aria followed him and saw a flickering camera feed the 2 spare bedrooms, highlighted in red with a warning message. "Signal compromised," she whispered. Leon nodded once. "Those rooms connect to external lines. Not safe. Safe from what? Who? From anyone who wants to reach you," he said quietly. Aria felt a chill, heavier than the cold air outside. "So where am I supposed to sleep?" Well, Leon didn't hesitate. "The master suite. With you," she blurted. He finally looked at her. "No, I'll take the sofa, but it's your room. It's the only room with electromagnetic shielding. You'll sleep there." Aria stared at him, trying to decipher the unreadable calm in his eyes. He wasn't flirting. He wasn't pushing a boundary. He was protecting her the only way he knew how. "Fine," she murmured, "but I'm locking the door." He gave a subtle nod. "You should." For a while, the 2 of them settled into an uneasy rhythm, Leon checking security logs, Aria wandering the lodge in small steps, absorbing its strange, sterile beauty. Eventually, Leon disappeared into the kitchen. Aria heard the sound of chopping vegetables. She drifted closer, leaning against the doorframe. "I didn't know you cook." Leon glanced at her from the corner of his eye. "I didn't know you're afraid of silence." "I'm not," she lied. His mouth curved, not into a smile, but something like recognition. He turned back to the stove. Aria watched him move, every motion precise, controlled, almost elegant. She wondered if he ever allowed himself to relax. She doubted it. She swallowed. "Leon, last night you said those people don't like loose ends. Does that mean I'm in danger?" he finished. "Yes." Her breath shook. "But not the kind you're imagining," he added. "They're not going to hurt you. They just want to control what you might say, or what people think you saw." Aria clutched the quartz counter. "I didn't ask for any of this." "I know." He slid a bowl toward her. "Eat." She blinked. "You made this for me, for both of us." She sat. The food was simple, warm, comforting. Nothing like the ornate meals from the nights before. It made her chest ache in a way she didn't expect. Halfway through the meal, a soft beep echoed again. Leon stiffened, another security alert. He tapped the screen. Camera feed. Dark trees. A lone figure standing just beyond the perimeter lights. Aria's fork fell. Is that the same man, not the same one from the gala?" Leon said calmly. "But he knows how to avoid cameras, which means he's not with the group that wants the data." Aria's skin prickled. "Then who is he?" Leon didn't answer right away. When he did, his voice held a heaviness she hadn't heard before. "Someone who used to work for me." Aria felt her pulse in her throat. "And now he's following me." Leon's gaze locked on the screen. "He's not following you. He's watching to see if I protect you." "And will you?" she whispered. He finally turned toward her. "I am." Their eyes held, longer than necessary, long enough for Aria to feel the shift in the air, something warm, something frightening. With the force watching them and the lodge humming in quiet tension, Leon spoke softly. "You should go to the master suite. I'll stay out here." Aria hesitated. Are you going to stay awake all night if I need to?" There it was again, that unyielding edge in his voice, not angry, not cold, but protective in a way that made her chest tighten. Later, unable to sleep, Aria padded out of the room. The lodge was dark except for the faint blue glow from Leon's laptop on the coffee table. He sat on the sofa, elbows on his knees, staring at the paused camera footage of the man in the forest. Aria approached quietly. She meant only to look over his shoulder, but then she heard him speak so low she almost missed it. 15 years, Leon murmured. "I should have told her." Aria froze. Her breath vanished. Told who? Told what? And why did he sound like he was breaking? She stepped forward without meaning to, her heartbeat loud in her ears. Leon turned, slightly startled, to find her standing there. But before either of them spoke, Aria knew one thing for certain. Whatever truth he carried, it wasn't small. It wasn't simple, and it wasn't done with her yet. Aria woke to the pale light filtering through the curtains of the master suite, the air still heavy with the echo of Leon's voice from the night before. 15 years. I should have told her. The words looped in her mind like a whisper refusing to fade. She slid out of bed and opened the door quietly. The lodge was quiet, unnervingly so. Leon wasn't on the sofa. His laptop was closed, cushions barely disturbed, as if he hadn't slept at all. Aria stepped into the kitchen. Leon stood there, hands braced on the counter, staring at nothing. His hair was tousled, sleeves rolled, the first buttons of his shirt undone. He looked almost human in his exhaustion, almost breakable. "Leon," she said softly. His head lifted. For a flicker of a moment there was something raw in his eyes. Then the walls came back up. "You should have stayed in bed," he said. "I couldn't stop thinking about what I heard." Leon exhaled a tired sound. "You weren't supposed to hear it. That much is obvious." She stepped closer. "Who were you talking about?" He didn't answer. "Was it someone you loved?" she tried. "No." His voice tightened. "It wasn't like that." Aria waited. Leon didn't elaborate. He rarely did. Breakfast was quiet. Too quiet. Aria kept watching him, his shoulders tense, his gaze drifting toward the windows, toward the forest beyond. His mind was somewhere else, somewhere far, dark, and old. A sudden pounding rattled the front door. Aria jumped. Leon's head snapped toward the sound, every inch of his body going alert. The pounding came again, loud, demanding. Leon moved first, stepping between Aria and the door. "Stay behind me." Her pulse hammered as he unlocked the latch. On the other side stood her father. His face was red, his breath visible in the cold air, and in his hand was an old denim cap crumpled tight like he'd been clutching it the entire trip. "Aria," he said, voice raw. "I need to speak with you, alone." Leon's jaw flexed. "That's not happening." Her father glared. "You think I'm scared of you, Hale?" Leon didn't flinch. "You should be scared of the people watching this place, not me." Aria pushed past Leon before either man could escalate. "Dad, what are you doing here?" Her father grabbed her shoulders. "You need to leave, now." Aria shook her head. "I'm not going anywhere." "Aria, listen to me," he barked. "You think these people care about you? They'll destroy you just like they destroyed who she asked." Her father's breath hitched. His eyes darted to Leon, then back to her. "Like they destroyed your mother," he whispered. The world tilted. Aria stepped back. "What do you mean destroyed? It was an accident." "A fire." Her father shook his head violently. "It wasn't an accident, and the people tied to that fire, people from his world, said it. I won't let you be dragged into those shadows again." Aria's chest tightened. "Dad, you've never said this before. Not once in 15 years. Because the truth would break you," he said. "Just like it broke me." Leon's voice came from behind her, quiet, steady, trembling at the edges. "Daniel, enough." Her father turned sharply. "You don't get to say her name. You don't get to act like you weren't part of what happened." Leon's face went still. Aria stepped between them. "Dad, stop. Stop talking like this. You're not making sense." Her father's eyes softened for a moment. "I'm trying to save you, Aria. Please, come home." Aria looked between him and Leon, her father shaking with fear. Leon standing rigid, silent, guarding her like a barrier of stone. She was caught between two men who both claimed to protect her, but both were hiding something. "Dad," she whispered, voice cracking. "Are you telling me Leon is connected to the fire?" Her father's silence was answer enough. Aria turned to Leon. "Is it true?" Leon's throat bobbed. "It's not what he thinks. That's not an answer." Leon took a step forward, eyes locked on hers. "You're not safe out here, not with him shouting your name outside, not with what's happening inside the company. Come back in the lodge, we can talk." Aria stepped back. "Talk or manage me like one of your risks." Leon's expression broke just slightly. "Aria," she turned away. "I need air." She stormed into the trees, ignoring Leon's voice, calling after her. Her footsteps crunched on the cold ground until she reached the forest clearing. She wasn't alone. A figure stood several yards away, half hidden by branches. Not threatening, only watching. Aria froze. He stepped forward enough for her to see his face. She gasped. It wasn't the man from the gala. It wasn't someone she didn't recognize. It was a face she'd seen in an old dusty photo album her father kept locked away. A face connected to the fire. A face connected to Leon. She whispered, You You were there." The man didn't speak. He only nodded once. Behind her she heard footsteps. Leon, her father, both calling her name. But Aria couldn't stay, couldn't breathe. She turned and ran, branches whipping past her heart, pounding with betrayal, fear, dawning memory. She didn't stop until she reached the road. She flagged down a passing taxi with shaking hands. As she climbed in, Leon's voice echoed faintly behind her, calling after her with a desperation she'd never heard from him. He reached the road just as the taxi sped away. Aria looked back once, long enough to see him standing in the cold chest, heaving, his expression carved with something close to anguish. She whispered into her trembling hands, "What else are you hiding from me?" "Leon, Hale." Aria didn't remember the taxi ride home. She only remembered the way the city lights blurred like smeared watercolor through the window, her breath fogging the glass as she kept whispering the same words over and over. He was there, he was there, he was there. By the time she reached her apartment, her hands were numb. She climbed the stairs slowly, each step heavier than the last. When she opened the door, the silence inside felt wrong, too hollow, too fragile. She locked it behind her and slid down to the floor, clutching her coat to her chest. On the table, the Polaroid waited like a ghost. Aria picked it up with shaking fingers. The edges were worn, the image grainy but unmistakable. A little girl covered in soot, limp in the arms of a teenage boy. The side of his face, sharp jaw, dark hair, looked exactly like the man who had just watched her disappear into the woods. Leon Hale. 15 years ago. He had saved her. He had been there when her world collapsed. He had said nothing. Aria pressed a trembling hand to her forehead. "Why didn't you tell me?" she whispered to no one. A surge of memories flooded up, blurry, fragmented cries, flames licking the ceiling, a boy's voice telling her to stay awake. She remembered pain, smoke, the smell of melting plastic. She remembered a hand gripping hers. She didn't remember leaving that hand behind. Her phone buzzed loudly, making her jump. Leon. Aria let it ring, then another call, and another. By the fourth, she finally answered but didn't speak. Leon's voice came through, low and controlled but thinned with something close to panic. "Aria, please tell me you're home." She almost hung up. "Why?" she whispered instead. "So you can manage me again, keep me where you want me, no?" A breath. "So I know you're safe." Aria's throat tightened. Safe from what? Or who? My father, you, or the people from your world who think the truth is theirs to bury? A long silence spilled through the line. Then Leon said softly, "I know you saw him." Aria gripped the phone harder. "The man in the woods. Who is he? Someone I trusted?" Leon said. "A long time ago." "That's not an answer." Another silence. When Leon finally spoke, his voice was almost a whisper. "I didn't want you to remember that night like this." Aria's breath hitched. "So it was you." "Yes," he said. "I carried you out." A pause. "And I wasn't fast enough." Aria pressed a hand to her mouth to keep from breaking. "You think that fire was your fault?" "I know it wasn't," he said. "But I also know I should have gotten you out sooner." Aria shook her head even though he couldn't see her. "You saved me. Why hide that?" "Because your father asked me to," Leon said. "He didn't want you growing up with my name anywhere near that night. Or near him." "My father," Aria whispered. Why would he?" "Because he thought my family started that fire." Aria went still. "He wasn't wrong," she said quietly. "Someone from your family did." She could almost hear Leon close his eyes on the other end. "Lucian Hale," he said. "Yes." "And you've known that all along, yes. And you didn't tell me." Her voice cracked open like something raw. Leon exhaled shakily. "I didn't want to burn you twice." Those words hit her so hard she had to sit down. "That's not your decision," she whispered. "It was my mother in that fire. My life. My memories." "I know." His voice sounded broken. "And that's why I stayed far away. I thought if I appeared again in your life, it would only bring the past back to hurt you." Aria closed her eyes. "Then why now, Leon? Why show up now? It's because the people who covered up what Lucian did are stirring again." He said, "And the moment they realized I found you." A pause. "They realized they could use you." Aria's blood ran cold. "Use me how? Your testimony, your memories, your existence." His voice hardened. You are the one person who connects every thread of that night, and that scares them. It terrifies them. Aria pressed her palm against her forehead. So, I'm not just a witness. I'm leverage. Yes. And you... Her voice wavered. You got close to me to protect me. No, Leon said. Then softer. I got close to you because I couldn't stay away any longer. Her breath caught. Leon continued, voice softer than she'd ever heard it. Aria, I know you don't trust me right now, but if I didn't care, I would have let you stay out there alone. I would have let the people watching you decide what happens next. I would have let your past eat you alive, but I didn't. I never will. Aria swallowed hard tears, blurring the Polaroid in her hand. I don't know what to believe. You don't have to believe me, he said. Just believe what you survived. Believe the truth you're starting to remember. She wiped her cheeks with her sleeve. And what truth is that? That the fire wasn't meant for you? Leon's voice broke. And that I wasn't supposed to survive either. Aria's heart stopped. What? Before he could answer, her phone chimed with a new email notification. Unknown sender. A single line in the preview. You were not the only child saved that night. Aria opened it with shaking hands. Inside was a photo, 2 small silhouettes wrapped in blankets side by side on a stretcher. One clearly her, the other face covered by a white square. Beneath it, ask Leon who the second child was. Ask him why he remembers you. Ask him why you forgot him. The world spun. Aria Leon's voice crackled through the phone. What happened? She stared at the photo, feeling her heartbeat crash against her ribs. Leon, she whispered, voice barely sound. There was someone else in that fire with me. Silence. Then, yes, Leon breathed. There was. And for the first time, Aria heard fear in him, not for her safety, but for the truth she was finally touching. The email wouldn't stop replaying in her mind as Aria stood in front of the abandoned clinic building, the place she had first woken up after the fire. The windows were boarded, the paint peeling, the door hanging crooked, as if the whole structure were exhaling old ghosts. She clutched the printed photo in her hand, fingertips trembling. You weren't the only child saved that night. A shadow moved near the far wall. Aria stiffened. Then the figure stepped into view, no longer hiding behind trees or distance. A weathered coat, lined face, steady eyes. The same man she'd seen in the woods. The same one who had watched her with a strange mix of fear and loyalty. You came, he said quietly. Aria swallowed hard. You were waiting for me. I've been waiting for 15 years, he replied. My name is Elias Ward. The name meant nothing to her yet. Her heart stuttered. You worked for Hale Dominion. Yes. And no, Elias said. I worked for Leon. Before everything changed. Aria took a small step closer. Tell me the truth. All of it. Elias looked at her with something like pain. The night of the fire. You weren't the only one trapped inside. Leon was too. Her breath caught. He was inside. He was visiting someone, Elias said. Someone he cared about. The moment the flames started, he ran in deeper instead of out. He found you and another child together. Aria's lungs compressed. Another child, the one in the photo. Yes. Who was it? She whispered. Elias looked away. That's not my story to give. Aria felt frustration burning behind her ribs. Then why show me any of this? Why follow me? Why send these photos? Because Leon wouldn't, Elias said. He still thinks he can carry the blame alone. A soft crunch sounded behind them. Leon. He stood at the entrance of the clinic, breathing hard as if he'd run the entire way. His eyes locked first on Aria, then on Elias. Elias, he said, voice a low warning. Elias didn't move. Leon stepped forward, body tense. What did you tell her? The part you never could. Aria raised her hand. Stop. I asked for answers. Leon's gaze snapped to hers. You shouldn't be here. And I shouldn't have been in that fire, she shot back. The words hung between them, sharp enough to cut through the cold air. Leon's expression cracked. Aria, tell me, she whispered. Please, I need to know. Leon looked at the floor for a long moment, as if gathering the pieces of himself before he spoke. Yes, he said finally. I was there. I pulled you out, and I pulled someone else out with you. Her heart thrashed. The second child. Leon nodded. Why didn't you tell me? She asked, voice trembling. Leon's voice was quiet, steady in that painful way he had when something mattered too much. Because I didn't know if you remembered him, and I didn't want to force memories that hurt you. Him, Aria repeated. So the other child was a boy. Leon's jaw tightened. Yes. Elias shifted slightly. He wasn't just any boy, Aria. Leon shot him a warning look, but Elias continued anyway. He was family. Aria blinked. Family, Leon drew a slow breath. Lucian Hale's son, he said softly. My cousin. The world around her blurred. Lucian. The man responsible for the fire, Leon nodded. He brought the boy to that building to hide something in the office. When the fire started, he panicked and ran. I went in after both of you. Aria pressed a hand against the wall to steady herself. And the boy, is he alive? Leon hesitated, then shook his head. No, he didn't make it out of the hospital. His injuries were too severe. The ache in his voice didn't sound practiced. It sounded like an old wound tearing open again. Aria's chin trembled. So you lost someone too? Leon didn't reply. His silence was answer enough. Elias stepped forward, and Leon thought, if you remembered those moments, remembered the boy in the blanket beside you, it would bring back the trauma he spent years trying to spare you from. Aria turned to Leon. Is that true? Leon's eyes met hers, raw and unguarded. I didn't want you to drown in that night again. I couldn't let the fire take anything more from you. Aria took one step toward him. So you chose to drown alone. Leon closed his eyes briefly, the pain visible even through the control he always kept. If that kept you whole, yes. She pressed her hand to her heart. Leon, you can't protect me from my own past. His voice broke in a way she had never heard. I know. Elias cleared his throat softly. There's more you both need to know. Leon tensed. Aria whispered. What more could there be? Elias reached into his coat and pulled out a thin envelope worn from years of handling. This belonged to the boy, to Lucian's son. It was found in the rubble the morning after the fire. Aria opened it carefully. Inside lay a torn child's drawing, 3 stick figures holding hands, a tall one and 2 small ones. Underneath were shaky letters, L-A-L Leon, Aria, Liam. Aria's breath fractured. Liam. Leon leaned against the wall, hand covering his eyes. I didn't know he drew that, he said hoarsely. Elias's voice gentled. You two were close, before the fire. Leon visited that place often. You and Liam used to play outside while he talked to your mother. Aria's head snapped up. I knew Leon before the fire. Leon's voice was barely audible. Yes. Why didn't you tell me? He finally looked at her completely unmasked. Because losing you once was unbearable. I didn't know if you remembered me, and I was terrified that if you did, you'd remember the day everything went wrong. Aria's shoulders shook. You think I'd hate you? Leon swallowed hard. I wouldn't blame you if you did. She stepped closer, closing the last few inches between them. I don't hate you. Leon's breath caught. Aria whispered, I just don't know how to forgive a fire that took too much from both of us. Leon nodded once, slowly. Neither do I. For the first time in 15 years, the truth stood between them without burning, and it didn't destroy them. It held them there, raw, shaking, but together. Elias stepped back, watching them with a quiet exhale, as if he had been waiting for this moment longer than either of them. Aria didn't pull away when Leon finally reached out his hand, hovering near hers before she let her fingers slip into his. This time, the past didn't separate them. It bound them. Aria stood in the glass-walled hallway of Hale Dominion rain, streaking down the city outside like silver threads, her heartbeat pounding louder than the storm. She clutched the printed report in her hand. Cause of fire suspicious. Primary suspect LH, and tried not to fall apart. Leon's office door was open. He stood behind his desk, sleeves rolled, hair slightly damp as though he'd run here. When he looked up and saw her, something in him shattered just enough for her to see the crack. Aria, he breathed. You shouldn't have come alone. She stepped inside. Tell me what this means. She dropped the report onto his desk. Lightning flashed behind her, illuminating the letters LH like a brand. Leon didn't touch the paper. He didn't need to. It's not me, he said quietly. Aria swallowed. But it's your initials. And also my uncle's, he replied. Before she could respond, a soft click sounded behind her. Victoria Hale entered with the sharp calm of someone who'd been expecting this moment for years. You found the report, Victoria said. Good. It's time someone stopped hiding things. Leon shot her a warning look. Victoria ignored it. Aria forced her voice steady. Victoria. Was Lucian responsible for the fire? Victoria sighed, almost impatient. Responsible? Yes, but not in the way you think. Lightning cracked again. The room brightened, then dimmed. Aria stepped closer, fingers tightening around the back of the chair. Then explain, because all I see here is that a child died, and another nearly did. And Leon was the one who ran into the flames, Victoria said, nodding toward her brother. Not Lucian, not the firefighters. Leon. Aria looked at Leon, her chest tightening. Victoria circled them slowly. The night of the fire, Lucian was trying to destroy files from an illegal insurance scheme. He never expected the fire to spread. When it did, he fled. Leon didn't. Aria's stomach twisted. Victoria's tone sharpened. And to protect the Hale name, our father buried everything. Every report, every witness, every trace of Lucian's involvement. Leon's jaw clenched. Victoria, you think she shouldn't know, Victoria snapped. She's part of this whether you want her to be or not. Aria turned to Leon, voice trembling. You knew your uncle caused the fire. Yes, he said softly. I found out days after the hospital released me. And you didn't tell me. Leon's breath hitched, his face tightening with something painfully close to regret. I didn't want you to relive it. Aria took a step closer, rain pattering harder outside. So instead, you let me believe everything was random, that my mother died because of fate. That night broke you, Leon whispered. I couldn't break you again. A quiet voice spoke from the doorway. Then let me do it. Elias Ward entered the office, hat in hand, eyes somber. Leon stiffened. Elias, no more lies, Elias said. Not tonight. He approached Aria carefully like she was made of thin glass. You asked who the second child was. It was Leon's cousin Liam, but there's something else he never told you. Aria held her breath. Elias continued. You and Liam weren't strangers. You played together every week when Leon visited your mother's office. The three of you were inseparable. Aria blinked rapidly, fragments of laughter, chalk drawings on sidewalks, and a boy's small hand tugging hers flickered through her memory like sparks. Leon swallowed hard. I didn't know how much you remembered. Elias met Aria's gaze. And the night of the fire, Liam pushed you under a desk when the flames reached the room. He saved you first. Leon saved you second. Aria pressed a hand to her chest as if trying to hold her ribs together. And Liam, he didn't make it. Leon's voice cracked painfully. No. Silence pressed in from all sides, thick and heavy. Aria took a shaky breath. So, I survived, because 2 people saved me. Yes, Leon whispered. And you carried the guilt, because you couldn't save them both. Leon's eyes glistened, not with tears, but with a years-long ache finally surfacing. I've relived that night every day since, he said. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw you in my arms and Liam not waking up. When I recognized you at the gala, I froze. I didn't know how to exist in the same world as you again. Aria stepped in front of him, forcing him to look at her. And yet, you still protected me, she said softly. You still ran toward danger, not away. Leon's voice trembled. I would run into 1,000 fires for you. Her breath caught. Why? For a moment only Rain answered. Then Leon said, voice breaking open entirely, because I was a boy who couldn't save you fast enough. And now I am a man who refuses to lose you again. The room held its breath. Victoria looked away. Elias closed his eyes. Aria didn't speak. She moved closer, close enough that she could feel the warmth of him, and said the truth she'd been avoiding. You didn't fail me, Leon, he inhaled sharply, and you don't have to carry my past alone anymore. His shoulders shook once, barely, but enough for her to see the weight lifting just slightly. Aria reached for his hand. He let her. They stood that way for a long, quiet moment, the storm outside softening into something gentler, something like release. At last, Aria whispered, if we're going to survive what comes next, We do it together. Leon nodded, eyes locked on hers, fierce and vulnerable. Together. The storm finally broke into silence. Morning sunlight spilled across the rooftop of Hale Dominion, turning the city into a softened gold as Aria stepped out of the elevator. The air was cool, fresh after the storm, and carried a quiet that felt almost sacred. Leon stood near the edge, hands in his pockets, watching the skyline as if he were trying to memorize it. He turned the moment she approached. "You came," he said, voice low, not surprised but relieved. Aria walked toward him slowly, each step grounding her. "I needed to." Leon searched her face as if checking for anger, fear, doubt. She offered none of those, only truth. "I've spent 15 years running from a fire," she whispered, "but I'm tired of running from the person who pulled me out of it." Leon's jaw tightened, the emotion too sharp to hide. "I never wanted my past to touch you." "It already did," she said gently, long before either of us realized. His breath caught. "Then what do you want now, Aria?" She stepped closer, close enough to feel the warmth of him, close enough that the wind had to move around them. "I want what's real," she said, "not contracts, not secrets, not the ghosts of what happened that night." Leon let out a breath that shook. "And if what's real is damaged or complicated, then we face it," she whispered, "together." For a moment, neither of them moved. Then Leon reached out as if asking for permission. Aria closed the distance between their hands, threading her fingers with his. It felt like the beginning of something they should have had 15 years ago, something finally allowed to breathe. He exhaled. "Aria." She lifted their joined hands. "This isn't me choosing your world," she said softly. "This is me choosing you." Leon lowered his forehead to hers, eyes closed as though absorbing the words. "And I choose you," he murmured, "not because of the fire, not out of guilt, but because I can't imagine a life without you in it." They stood like that for a long moment, the city shimmering below, the day stretching open like a promise. Later in the weeks that followed, life began to settle into something gentler. Aria opened her own bakery in a little corner shop, with warm lights and mismatched chairs, her own world rebuilt from the ashes. The first thing she hung on the wall was a framed drawing found in the rubble, 3 stick figures labeled LAL, a memory of a childhood she lost, and a reminder of the 2 boys who saved her. Leon visited every morning before work. He always arrived quietly, but his presence filled the tiny bakery like a steady heartbeat. He never tried to overshadow her new life. He simply became part of it. Elias stopped by often too, ordering the same black coffee, always leaving a few minutes before Leon arrived, giving them space without saying so. Victoria, to Aria's surprise, became an unlikely guardian, checking in with sharp observations, softer eyes, and the occasional envelope of documents Aria needed but never asked for. Aria's father visited one evening after closing. He stood in the doorway, wringing his cap in his hands. "I was wrong about him," he said, voice thick. "I thought keeping you away from fire meant keeping you away from the people in it. But that boy, that man, he didn't cause the flames. He walked through them for you." Aria hugged him, and for the first time in years, he let himself be held. Months later, on a quiet night, Aria and Leon returned to the abandoned clinic, the place their stories first crossed. The air smelled of old wood and distant memories. Aria touched the spot where she had once awakened alone. "I don't fear this place anymore," she said softly. Leon stepped behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. "You'll never face anything alone again," he murmured. She leaned back into him, letting the moment settle, letting the past finally rest. "Not with her," he whispered into her hair this time, not as a warning, but as a vow. Aria closed her eyes, feeling warmth, where once there had been only smoke and fear. They had survived the same fire. Now they were building a life beyond it. And for the first time, the future didn't feel like an echo of loss. It felt wide and open and real. If you were watching them from afar, you would see 2 silhouettes standing where a tragedy once lived, their hands intertwined, choosing healing over hurt, choosing each other without hesitation. And maybe you'd think some stories aren't about escaping the flames. They're about finding the person who walks through them with you. Aria would agree, and she'd turn to you gently and ask, "If this story touched you, tell me." Tell me where you're listening from. Tell me what part stayed with you the longest. She'd smile and add, and if you want to hear more millionaire stories, stories of secrets, healing, and love that refuses to burn out, stay with us. Like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Because some stories end here, and some stories begin again.